what we're going to be going through today is I'm going to show you how to create content, how to write content that ranks using AI, and we're going to take it even one step further, and we're not going to write that much ourselves. So we're going to do some keyword research. We're going to write a piece of content that has our expertise, experience, and case studies, or whatever you want to call it. So we're creating truly unique content. So first, I'm just going to share my screen. Let's just go here. So the first thing that you do anytime you want to write a piece of content, you need to find the right keyword to go after. And what I mean by the right keyword is a keyword that is easy to rank for, that has some search volume. It doesn't necessarily have to have a lot of search volume. It can have a little bit, but you want something that's realistic that you can actually rank for. So that's the first thing we're going to do. I'm going to show you really quickly, and some of you already know this, really quickly how to find a keyword to rank for or to write for. So we're going to go to keyword gap here. I'm going to do this for Hey Tony. Oops. And we're going to do Neil Patel as well. I have some tabs open already. Let's do Neil Patel. Okay. So we're going to do what we call a keyword gap. This is going to show us all the keywords that Neil ranks for that I don't. You can see his bubble is way bigger because he ranks for way more things. He's been doing this a lot longer than me. So the first thing you're going to do is after you've typed in your competitor, you're going to come down to KD and you're going to go 0 to 30 because we want a keyword difficulty that's going to be easier to rank for. That's what KD stands for. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to sort by yeah, I guess volume is the probably the best one to do. So you're just going to come here and you're going to choose a keyword that makes sense for your business. Not all of them are going to make sense here. And if you put it in a local competitor, you'll get a lot less options, likely unless they're really big. They've been doing SEO for a long time. But in my case, like this one here, I'm looking at KD. It's 7, very easy. Advantage audience versus original audience. So I know that this is somebody looking for Facebook or Meta ads help. So that's probably a topic that I can write about. I'm going to choose this one, but you don't necessarily have to do, the first one. It might take you a little bit longer and you might have to go through pages and pages of these before you find some topics that make sense. So you're going to come down, click on the keyword that you want. And it looks like we are actually already ranking for this, but just not very well. What do we got here? What's the audience overlap with your Facebook ads? So that doesn't quite answer the question. I'm just going to click on this keyword here and say, cool, very easy. There's 480 people looking that up in the US per month. And it looks like it just started recently, this trend, probably because the advantage audience is something that's newer. So we see here we have these keyword variations. Sometimes the original keyword, you might be like, this is a topic that I want to write about, but it's too hard to rank for. If that is the case, you can come down here and you could say, what other variations or what other versions of this keyword can I use? And then you could grab those or you can grab several of those and create what we call a content outline, which we are going to do here in this video in just a minute using ChatGPT, of course. So yeah, I'm gonna go with this keyword that makes the most sense. So the next thing that we do is, and I'm gonna maybe switch this keyword a little bit because I have the rest of this training. I have a different way to do this, but I'll just show you the process of how we would do this. So we're gonna open up the top 3 links. Oops. Let's go here. Oh, I gotta move this Zoom thing around. So we're gonna open up the top 3 links here. We're gonna skip anything like Reddit or YouTube because we actually just want websites. Facebook, we're gonna skip. Strike Social, that looks like a blog post. So Reddit might outrank us even though it doesn't have any backlinks. Same thing with YouTube. Same thing with Facebook. Those just have higher authority, but we can outrank them, right? If our content is better. So I'm going to look at the top 3 pieces of content and I'm going to see why are they ranking. So the top one, johnloomer.com. It looks like he's got 19 referring domains, so 19 links to his site from unique sites. Reddit has 0. We're skipping Reddit. Swipeinsight.app has 2 links and Strike Social has 3 links. So links aren't going to be a huge factor in ranking. Like if we got 2 or 3 links to this page or this piece of content, that should easily help us rank. And then we have also John Loomers down here again. So he's ranking twice for the same keyword, which if you guys don't know, that could be a form of keyword cannibalization. If this was a more difficult keyword to rank for, he could be splitting the clicks that he gets from Google, and therefore Google might not know what page is the best page to show. And if he's getting fewer clicks than number two, three, four, then he will lose rankings. Okay, so you're going to open up the top three links, and you're basically what you're going to do is look at a couple things here. We know that we can rank, so that's number one. We've looked at the backlinks, we know that already. So let's just go here, and we're going to see how many times they're using the actual keyword. So it's Advantage Plus actually, but people aren't typing that in. So Advantage Plus versus original audiences. This guy's using the exact keyword in the H1 tag, and it looks like the H1 tag here. Advantage Plus versus or audience versus original audiences. Advantage Plus versus original. Let's see about these guys. Um, so they're not using the verses, which if we go back to our keyword research, we could see versus, 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 versus. Let's just see. And oops. Let's see if there's like other variations of this keyword. It's not really looking at like it at this point, but Google's still picking it up, even though they're saying and, right? So let's see, verse. They're not even using the word verse. How about these guys here? They're not doing that. Is Advantage Plus effective? Okay, they have all of this content. Great. So typically what I would do next is grab all the heading tags from these, paste them into a document, which we're going to do, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to change the keyword because I already have the next step of this set up. So what we're going to do is rather than come up with a piece of content, and I'm explaining why I'm changing things a little bit, rather than write everything ourselves and have to figure out like, oh my God, how do I inject my experience, my expertise, any case studies, any examples, rather than trying to inject that into it, writing it out, what we're going to do is we're going to film a quick video, and you can use, where's my phone? Use your phone's front facing camera to just film yourself talking about whatever that is. So in this case, it's Advantage audience and original audience. I could say something like Advantage Plus audience has a lot of benefits because you don't really need to do anything. Facebook decides who the audience is going to be. They extrapolate, blah, 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 blah. Original audience is X, Y, and Z. I actually use this on a lot of clients, because we could be a little bit more specific. And I really don't trust Facebook to make that decision for me, not when I have a lot of money on the line. So you're going to film a video doing that. And you can see there, I already said, I don't trust Facebook. I do not want to have a lot of money online. I use it for clients. You could also say, whatever other examples you want to use. We tried using this in the past several times, and it's something that we use in rotation with testing against the original audience, and it's not performing all that well. But I want to give you like a real example here. So I'm going to take a transcript from a video that I have on YouTube, and basically you could just do the exact same thing that I'm doing. You don't have to upload it to YouTube though. Where is it? How much does SEO cost? So that's the keyword that we're going to be optimizing for in this training. So you're just going to click on details, and then you're going to come down here to subtitles, and YouTube does this for you guys automatically. So you're just going to come down here, automatic captions, hover over this. You're going to click duplicate and edit. We don't need any of this. We're really just grabbing this text. We're going to go to ChatGPT and say, summarize this. So step one, we've filmed an answer. We've talked about the topic that we want to write about. So we did the keyword research, then we filmed a video of us talking. You could use Zoom, you could use literally anything you want, upload that video to YouTube. Some people have even said voice to text. I find that doesn't necessarily work that well. Or if you wanted to try, you could talk directly to ChatGPT. I've tried this. I did it for like half an hour, asking questions back and forth, all this kind of stuff, and it lost the transcript. So I would always rather have the original video, have the transcript, and then paste that in. So the first thing, very simple prompt, summarize this, and it doesn't look good. It's just one big blob, right? So it's going to summarize that. We don't need to read the summary or anything like that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the keyword here. How much does SEO cost, for example? And I'm going to look at the top three results. So we're gonna skip Reddit. We're gonna do these guys and these guys. And yes, I do have a blog post about this already. We're not ranking that well yet. It's very competitive, as you can see. Keyword difficulty is pretty hard to rank for. So we need to give it time and we need to get some backlinks. So yeah, and that's another thing I wanted to point out here. Referring domains, like besides Reddit, all of these guys have a ton of referring domains to this specific page. So it's a little bit harder to compete, and that's part of the keyword difficulty there. So yeah, you'll need to have 67 referring domains and optimized content to compete here. It's kind of cool that they say that. So I'm just going to go here, reject all the cookies. Let's see what else we got here. I guess I have to accept. Um, so I'm just going to grab these top three pieces of content. I'm going to use something like detailed SEO, go to the headings, copy the headings just into a blank document. Um, and we're going to do that on all three of these. Copy all the headings. And again, blank document doesn't need to look good. Um, and there's Okay, so now we have those three. So now we have all the heading tags. This is going to help us create an outline for our piece of content. And we're going to use the transcript to kind of fill in this outline as well as some other stuff. So now that we have those, we're going to copy um, each of these competitor links, and we're just going to go back into ChatGPT and say, summarize this. All right, and we're just going to do that with the top three pieces of content. I keep going to the wrong tab. Do this one now. All right, so once that's done, we're just going to do that with the top three
Can I ask a question?
here. Yeah.
So when you're having it like summarize like that,
hmm
um, how do you kind of like narrow it in because of the fact that it's also like at the exact same time uh like researching other like sources, right?
Yep.
Rather than just your source. Like how do you like try to like keep it on track?
So what I'm doing here is I'm training ChatGPT in this conversation to look at the top ranking content. Right? This content ranks number one for a reason. And right now I'm just training. I'm not reading any of these summaries. I'm not doing any of that kind of stuff. It's simply training it. I've uploaded my transcript, all this kind of stuff. Um, and that's basically it. It will grab information from other places as well, but I'm going to say using the transcript provided as well as the information summarized, that kind of thing. So just hang on, Jam Jam, we're getting there.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So now I'm just going to take all these heading tags. I'm going to say, um, can you clean up this list of heading tags and remove anything irrelevant? Oh my God, can't type. Um, and remove anything irrelevant. Also gonna say I'm writing blog post called "How much does SEO cost?" And as I keep that in mind when um, removing tags or keeping them. Oops, keeping them. All right, so now I still do sometimes do this manually where I go through and I'm like, okay, which ones make sense? Like if we look here, like your budget, does that make sense to be there? Hiring an SEO professional versus DIY, yeah, that makes sense. Proudly brought to you by WebFX, that doesn't need to be in there. So there's a lot of stuff that we could remove. And then, in these like we might not have budgets in these different ranges. Also, this article is part of what Marcus Sheridan is calling the Big Five, and these are just different topics that you can write about that will help people further down your buyer journey. So if somebody's looking up how much does SEO cost, they probably know that they need SEO, or they're not probably, they know that they need SEO and they're price shopping at this point, right? So if they can find that information on your site and you're very transparent and you say exactly here's what's included in whatever it is that you sell, um, that will help them make a better decision or a buying decision. So here we go. How much does SEO cost in 2025? Use the same single main title of the blog post. Great. Key takeaways. So you could have key takeaways at the top. Let's see, did these guys do that? Jump links. Who else did key takeaways? These guys did key takeaways, which we've been doing key takeaways for our clients, and they've been performing really well. So We do this here because we want to make it one, easier for people just to scan through the article really quickly. Two, we want LLMs and AI, ChatGPT, whatever you want to call them, to quickly come here and be able to pull stats so that we appear higher in any kind of AI mode or AI overviews or anything like that. So key stats, key takeaways, we're going to include that there, but then we're going to include more information at the bottom. So let's see here, go back here. So what goes on the cost of SEO? Here's what you're actually paying for, pricing model, retainer, hourly, one-time project and audits, all this kind of stuff. So I would actually probably remove one-time project and audits because we don't do that, right? How are SEO prices determined, industry and competition? I don't do any of this, right? Website size and CMS, like I would probably remove all of this stuff and just say we've determined that you need X amount of page updates per month and you need X amount of backlinks, and that's where the cost goes in. And you could even talk about your margin here if you wanted to. Like, oh, we have a 25% margin. We keep it lower than industry average so that we can service you better and bring you, more quality blank for less price. Pricing by type of business, small business. Like again, I don't price things that way. So I would probably remove this stuff. And this is why it's important not to just let ChatGPT or any AI take a piece of content and write it because I don't do all of this, right? And if I just had it write this piece of content, it would put out some AI slop. People would come to my website and be mad when they're like, well, you said it on your website that you charge X amount of dollars, $300 to $500. Um, that's not something that we do. So what do SEO services typically include on page after? Okay, that's great. Is it worth the investment? ROI of SEO? This is now where I would talk about likely a story, right? Here's a case study from a client who they had this type of business. When we started working with them, they were getting 100 visitors per month. Now they're getting 10,000. They're making $300,000 a month or whatever, you want to say, whatever's true, and how to measure performance over time. That's definitely something we could talk about there. Conclusion and all of this kind of stuff. So the next step is they've cleaned it up for you. We're going to come and we're going to clean it up again, right? We're just going to say, I don't do that. And I'm going to go through this quickly, guys. Um, how are SEO pricing determined? I'm just going to leave that blank there as a H2. Don't do that. Small scale SEO. Um, so I would call this like steady steady growth package because that's what we have. And I would just say like this is going to be the accelerated growth, and make sure that the pricing actually matches up to what you're doing. That looks fine there. That looks fine there. How to set a budget. What if your budget is tight? DIY or SEO Pro, great. How long does SEO take to work? These are some FAQs that people are going to be asking, but I could write an entire blog post if I wanted to about how long does SEO take to work? Why do some services seem so cheap? All this kind of stuff. Conclusion, I would say like next steps to hire or DIY SEO, whatever that might be. So now I'm going to take this new thing into here and say, using the following outline and article summaries above, as well as the initial transcript provided, which was from one of my videos. Write a detailed blog post using my experience, expertise, case studies, etc. So I skipped a step. So um, I'm gonna say, ask me questions that you need to know in order to write a detailed blog post. And I'm gonna go like this. Cool. So now it's going to ask me a bunch of questions, and all I'm going to do is answer these questions. So, who is the target audience? All this kind of stuff. Key takeaways, 3 to 5 things you wish every business knew. So it's actually separating this into the different heading areas. So it's showing you where that information is going to be relevant. What's included in your $1,500 a month versus $3,000 packages? How'd you come up with those prices? Have you ever had to justify pricing to a skeptical client? So it's asking me these questions because it might use this information in these places. Um, so okay, it's still going. That's great. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try this. I haven't tried this before because I chat a lot with ChatGPT and I've actually written this piece of content before. I'm gonna say, can you answer most of these questions yourself with by looking at our previous conversations? Yes. Okay, so it can do it, but I would still, every time I do this. Look, this is actually 500, one backlink cost 200. This is like verbatim, like what I've said before. Let's see here. So it's not actually writing the full piece of content, what you're paying for. So I would maybe elaborate this. This is my packaging, keyword research tools, how much they cost, how much do backlinks cost, all this kind of stuff. Um, yeah, so I forgot to take this out, but all this kind of stuff. What did I ask? Did I say write me a blog post? Okay. So it's just answering the questions. Um, Now write me a fully optimized blog post using the oops, following outline. Make sure to include the main keyword I told you before in the title tag, meta description, H1 tag, at least one H2 tag, and several times within the content. You can, oops, content, you can use variations of the keyword if that, fuck's sakes, that makes more sense. Um, so typically what I would do in this situation, like, yes, I'm going to have it write all of this stuff, but I'm going to go in manually and look at how many times people are using the actual keyword in their content. So literally you can just copy paste. So using it 4 times, they're using it 5 times, they're using it 4 times. So I would probably want to use it 4 or 5 times in my content, not really anymore, maybe 6 times. Like you want to slightly outdo what your competitors are doing. And I want to make it sure it's in the title tag and meta description. All of these guys, if they are SEO people, they should have it. What's the cost of SEO? What's the cost? So they're not even using the exact keyword in there. What's the cost of SEO? Right? And let's see if these guys are using that or variation. SEO pricing guide. SEO pricing guide. How much does SEO cost in 2025? So, one of the things that I also wanted to mention while I have you guys here is that sometimes you can get a page to rank for variations of the keyword, like these guys are doing here. SEO pricing guide. What's the cost of SEO? Instead of how much does SEO cost, which is the exact keyword. You can do this in a couple different ways. One, you can get backlinks that use the keyword that you're trying to rank for to link back to your site. So another site would say, hey, here's how much SEO costs, and then how much SEO costs would link back to your site. Or internally, or internally, you can just link from other pages on your site, so other blog posts. So you could say like, if you're wondering how much SEO costs, you can see our full pricing guide, blah, blah, blah. And then the word, how much does SEO cost? That can link back to this page. So you're giving more information to Google about what that page is about. And I've seen pages rank for variations of the keyword without even using that keyword on the page because they've been internally linked. And we got backlinks as well using those variations. The next thing I would do is like look at word count. Like these guys, 5,500 words. Let's see here, 4,100 words, and then 5,100 words. I don't like writing content that long because it's kind of useless. Like, yes, if I was doing like a research study on all of this, like sure, I would want to read more of the 5,000 words, but if I'm somebody who's just looking for this service, I don't want to read that many words. Uh, but when it comes to SEO, like you kind of have to word count match at least a little bit because they're looking at how good is that content, right? Like how in depth is that content? These buttons don't even work. Um, so another thing too, like this says it's 5,500 words. I'm literally just going to copy all of this. And I always double check because this looks maybe like 3,000 or 4,000 words, word counter. .net. We're not going to do characters. Um, so 3,700 words is the actual content. So a mistake that a lot of people make is they'll say, okay, well, these guys wrote 5,000 words or 5,500 words. I'm just going to write that because I just use something like detailed SEO to check that quickly. Um, when if you just actually put in all the words in here, we can see it's 3,700 words. Let's see with these guys here. Oops. Sorry, bear with me, everyone. Oh my God, I keep clicking. Uh, so this one looks like it's pretty long. Just going to grab all the content here. Let's see here. So 3,100 words. So you actually don't need as many words as you would think, even though this tool is saying they're using 4,100 words. So that means they have 1,000 words on the page that are, it's probably some of these words, stuff in the footer. I didn't copy any of this stuff. So, or sometimes they have drop downs that aren't popped open. So, yeah, maybe like 3,000 words is where I would aim. But let's go back to ChatGPT and see what they did here. So, oops, I'm just trying to move this window. So, how much does that SEO actually cost? How much does SEO cost in 2025? First question, how much does it cost? That's a fair one, blah, blah, blah. I've run an SEO agency for years. I've helped thousands of small businesses grow. This guy's here to exactly or to tell you exactly what SEO costs in 2025. Key takeaways, it ranges from that for legitimate results, long-term investment, not a quick fix. Okay, that's all stuff that I would say. What goes into the cost of SEO? What you're actually paying for. Would I do a heading two and go right into a heading three? Probably not. I might like have a couple paragraphs here of, whatever it might be, or maybe just a paragraph talking about like, there's a lot of things that go into the SEO, whether you're doing it yourself or hiring an agency to do it for you. Those costs, if you're doing it yourself, can range from zero to, or from, I guess, zero to, $500 a month just for tools and software. If you're building links, it can cost this much. But here's what you're actually paying for, and then get into all of this stuff. And I would elaborate on some of this stuff too. Like, it's, again, if we just take the slop that ChatGPT puts out, it's not necessarily going to be quality content. Like if I'm saying technical audits and fixes, like we use our in-house proprietary audit software called the Haytoni Audit Tool, which you can see here, and then link to that there, which gives us another internal link or external link in that case. And you could say, we've audited thousands of websites, X, Y, and Z. We go after the things that are going to make the biggest difference first, and we don't fix everything on your site. Your site's not going to be 100% perfect from a technical point of view, but we fix the most important ranking factors first. And anyways, you can just go in a little bit more detail on all this kind of stuff. But this really does use a lot of information that I've given it, right? So taking that transcript, well, finding the keyword, that's easy. Taking a transcript and then using those prompts that I just showed you in ChatGPT to write a very good first draft. And I call it a first draft because you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to fix it. Um, this is going to give you a really great starting point to write a piece of content. So that's that. I'm going to stop sharing and answer some questions.